Hello Black Eagles, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about our brand new signing, Rafa Silva, and joining me live right now from Porto in Portugal, Porto I should say, I think, right? It's Jogo, is it Jogo?
Yes, very well.
It's Jogo's Ana Luisa, and then your last name, I'm going to butcher it probably, Magalhães. Is that also correct? Magalhães, okay.
That's one of the most difficult pronunciations you can have in Portuguese. If you're not Portuguese, that's one of the most difficult. It's okay.
All right, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it at Ana Luisa for now.
So Ana, no worries.
Thank you for joining us and giving us your valuable time. Of course, it's a busy period for everyone, but especially for you as a journalist. Of course, covering the Euros in Germany right now. So thank you very much for joining us and then talking a little bit about Rafa Silva. So before we start, I'd like to ask you, should I say Rafa Silva or just Rafa?
Just Rafa.
Okay. I'll
Here
call
in
him just...
Portugal, it was always Rafa, maybe just one time or another Rafa Silva, but
Yeah.
just Rafa.
All right. So I believe you came out with the big article the other day that Rafa Silva is heading to Beşiktaş, and then of course later in the day we saw footage and pictures posted of him on the private jet, and then arriving in Istanbul later in the day. How big was the surprise in Portugal? Because I know in Turkey it was a very unexpected move. It kind of came out of nowhere. Our rivals were also linked with him in the past, so especially in that regard, it kind of just came out of left field. How was the reaction back home in Portugal?
I would say natural, because here in Portugal, no one gets too surprised when a player in Rafa's situation joins a Turkey club. It's all about the money, and especially it's all about the tax system, because in Portugal it's 40%. And I guess in Turkey it's 15%. So
yeah, I believe
you
so.
Do your math. You do your math and see how much, how better it is for Rafa to join Beşiktaş. And we also get very used to see Turkish clubs putting their hands on free agents like Rafa.
Yeah, very
exactly
true.
Because of the wages, they get a great advantage from other clubs, and especially from Portuguese clubs because of what I explained. 40% tax system. For me, it's fair. I don't care. I think they should play. I think they should pay it. No problem. But for a club battling to keep a player like Rafa, it's very easy for a Turkish club to get as a free agent and sign him. I wouldn't say it was a surprise. Maybe people got a little. I'm not going to use also the word surprise, but they didn't understood very well what happened with the Saudi Arabia club that was supposed to sign him. It would be strange if it was about the money, because money is no problem there also. But I can say it was. Yeah, I can say it wasn't much of a surprise. People knew Rafa would left Benfica for a long time ago. Saudi Arabia sounds just one more going there, but since it didn't work out, Beşiktaş came up with a good contract, and it's a historical club. It's a very competitive league, awesome atmosphere, so makes sense for him.
So, are you surprised personally that he didn't go to Saudi?
Like I said, I'm not going to say surprised. I don't know very well what happened with the Saudi club that was pointed for him for a long time. The deal was presented as basically done. I don't know what happened, but since it didn't work out, I understand as well a player going to Saudi Arabia as doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. For me, makes sense both of the situation.
Yeah.
So since it didn't work out, Beşiktaş came. And
it's life-changing money, right? Like a lot of people are very iffy about it, and I understand that as well. But at the other hand, like, look, if you've been earning 4 or 5 million a year, that's a lot of money for us, especially, to think about that. But then if you can earn like 100 million a year, like you can make in 2 years what you made in your entire career. So it's crazy money that they're offering there.
Yeah, for Rafa, 31 years old, it's normal that he starts to think about the money more than the rest. But still, I think Turkey, it's no vacation in there. And Beşiktaş fans for sure have a lot of expectations on him, and he knows that as well.
Yeah, for sure. So just having a quick glance at his statistics at Benfica over the past couple of years, and also at Braga, of course, but like, he's an extremely productive player. I would imagine, I'm not an expert on Benfica squad by any stretch of the imagination, but this does seem like a big loss to them. Do you know how the fans feel about it? The Benfica fans, are they upset about Rafa leaving? As you said, they have already known for a while, so they've probably had an opportunity to come to terms with it. But still, is it a big loss for Benfica, and is it going to be difficult to replace him?
Yes, it's an important loss for Benfica. I mean, the fans had lots of time to get used to the idea of him leaving, because very soon in the season it was pretty much clear that he wouldn't renew his contract. He was going to leave as a free agent, so they got time to get used to the idea. It's an important loss. The numbers are huge. Even if, of course, Benfica plays on the attack in 95% of the matches Benfica plays, but still very good numbers, and a lot of big names and big stars came to Benfica in the last years, and none of them took the place of Rafa. Rafa was always there. I mean, if you're talking about Benfica, they can say that they always had Rafa. Even with a bit of switch on and off, the numbers were always there. You could always count on a goal from him, an assist, a decisive play for him. So this is not very good news for Benfica, but they also have time to prepare for it, to prepare themselves for the exit of Rafa, and they have to move on. It's just one more player that leaves Portugal, like many others did.
Yeah, of course they probably would have hoped him to maybe leave a year or 2, 3 earlier and gotten a big bag of cash for him. How come you think that he never made that jump to one of the big leagues? Because if you look at his numbers, like, they're crazy. He's had multiple double seasons, double digits in both the goals and assist brackets. So you would expect usually a player like that from Benfica, from Porto, from Sporting to make the big move to the Premier League. But was it just because he maybe moved a little bit too late already to Benfica, or what do you think?
No, I don't think it was too late. I think it was a normal journey, let's say. It's a very good question that I don't know how to answer.
Maybe they asked for too much money.
I don't know. Maybe this is a wild guess, but Rafa is a very low-profile athlete. He's very discreet, and this might sound a bit stupid, but nowadays this kind of things also makes a difference, because there is a lot of marketing involved as well. When you want to sell a player, there's a bit of marketing involved in that. And
yeah, for sure.
Maybe Rafa's such a low profile, and in the national team, it happened what we probably gonna talk about later. Is he stepped back from the national team at 29 years old. He didn't play very much in the national team, and that also is important when you want to sell a player. The international caps, the influence in the national team, the presence in big competitions like the World Cup and the Euro. Everything counts. And on the other way, since Rafa was having such great numbers from season to season, I assume Benfica didn't want to sell him for not so much of a good figure, and I can understand that. Was it worth it to sell Rafa for 20-25 million for the numbers he gave you all the seasons? Maybe better to keep him in the team, guaranteeing those numbers and lose him as a free agent. Although Benfica tried to renew the contract, but Rafa refused.
Yeah. And how is he seen as? How has he seen, I should say, by Benfica fans right now? Because, like you said, maybe they've had times to come to terms, and sometimes, in a situation like that, people start looking at it like, he was never that good anyway. They start looking for the dark side of the medallion, so to speak. How do you think Benfica fans look at him right now? Or will look back at him maybe in a couple of years?
With a bit of nostalgia, because he was a very important player. He was a VIP, very important player in the last two leagues that Benfica won in 2019 and 2023. He was very important in those matches. Any player has consistently double figures in goals and assists season by season. Will always get the fans with him. The thing with Rafa again is the personality that, for me, I find it normal, but for a lot of people, he is seen as too introvert, too shy, too low profile. And as a fan, when you are creating a connection with a player, that side also counts a bit. And Rafa was very low profile from day one. It was not completely normal to see him barely celebrate a goal. Sometimes. I'm not saying it was the normal thing or the normal situation, but anytime we see Rafa barely celebrate a goal he scores, people will already be used to it. Back in 2 months ago, or in the very end of the season, he had a small interview for Benfica channel, and he opened up himself a bit on that, and he said that he loved Benfica, he loved the club. He had his own way of showing it, his own way of demonstrating it. Don't jump into conclusions, don't take false conclusions, don't assume he didn't care about the club. It's just his way of being, his personality, and it was like a man on a mission, and his mission was to play football and follow manager instructions and all of that. Rafa is not the guy that was like this and this, and it's not that guy. But that doesn't mean he doesn't care about the symbol he has on the shirt, because he do. He's a really professional guy. Just the way, just the way he is. Just maybe he didn't get that emotional connection that like other players from Benfica had due to his low profile, but the way, in the end, the last image is strong, and the way Stadio da Luz said goodbye to him on the last match this season say it all. Standing ovation, people were chanting for him, chanting his name, screaming from him, applauding him. He will always be remembered as a great Benfica player for anyone who watch him play. No doubts about it.
So no bad feelings there then?
No bad feelings. Of course, he arrived at Benfica in 2016, so it was a long journey and not very normal. It's not very normal to see a player with Rafa numbers stay for so many seasons in the club like Benfica or Porto Sporting. But it's such a long journey. He had these ups and downs. He had these stages where people were saying, "Where is Rafa? What's wrong with Rafa? Why is Rafa not so decisive, not so important?" But in such a long journey, you can say that about any other player, because with the exception of the elite, you don't have a player always on top of his form in so many years like Rafa. So he had his ups and downs in Benfica. He had this switch on, switch off mode a few times. But I think that any Benfica fan, if they had the option, no money involved, if they have the option to keep Rafa, they would still want Rafa in the team.
What about rival fans? Is he a player that when you looked at the lineup, if a derby was coming up or a big game against Porto or something, that the rival fans would be looking at him, he was like, "Oof, Rafa is playing." Is he somebody that intimidated the opposition a little bit? Is he somebody that was feared or even begrudgingly respected by the rival fans? Because we had a player, Atiba Hutchinson, and he was very similar to Rafa in the sense that he was very modest, very professional. So even though he was a very good player for us, like our rivals, everyone respected him. And like from what you're telling me, it doesn't sound like a player that a rival would hate. Maybe begrudgingly because he's so good, but not necessarily like he's not somebody that's going to start fights or anything like that.
No, not very much to the case of Rafa. Like I said, it's a very low profile. Of course, he had these things, but any player has them. In terms of what the fans expected when you see Rafa when they saw Rafa on the lineup, well, it depends if it was on Rafa was on with a switch on or off. If he was on not that stage where he was not very good, not very decisive, not as important as he was in other moments, people wouldn't be too scared of, or maybe they would look at other players. But if he was on one of those stages where is Rafa pulling the team to everywhere, almost taking Benfica on his shoulders, that's different. When you look at Rafa numbers, for instance, against Porto, for Benfica, he only scored 2 goals, which is not very good for the number of classics he was on, and he was pretty much every time available. For the number of times he faced at Porto, 2 goals for a player like Rafa, maybe it's not that good. But the 2 goals he scored against Porto were absolutely decisive, not only for winning those matches, and Benfica was playing away those matches, those 2 matches, but also for Benfica to win the titles and the leagues in those seasons. I'm talking about again 2019, 2023. So you have, this is a good picture of Rafa. He didn't score that much against Porto, but the goals he scored will always be remembered by Benfica fans because they were absolutely decisive to win those matches, and those matches were absolutely decisive for Benfica to win the league in those years. With Sporting, also not very good numbers, but it's a bit it's difficult when if you are an attacker, if you play on the attack. The classics are very, here in Portugal, are usually very tight, very boring sometimes, very tactical, very away from the goals, and sometimes for a player like Rafa to stand out, not very easy. It's one of those matches where it's really the team that wins it and not so much of a player.
Okay, so you alluded to it earlier already. So in 2022, he announced his retirement at just 29 from the national team. At the time, he cited personal reasons. Has anything new come out about this, like the reasoning behind his decision? And do you think he would actually be part of Portugal's squad right now had he not retired in the Euros in Germany?
Well, what everyone translates as personal reasons to, or I'm done with this because I don't play in the national team. I don't feel valuable enough in the national team. It doesn't worth the time away from the club. It doesn't worth the time wasted on journeys. It doesn't worth any of that. Just to be there and just be a guy that plays just a few minutes in one game or another. That was, I think he never, if I'm not mistaken, he made that announcement of the public, the personal reasons, and never talked about again about that. But you may want to check on Quaresma on this matter, because he was asked about Rafa's retirement of the national team, and he said he understood. I'm quoting sick, not exact, might be not as 100% what I'm going to say, but he basically said that he understood very well what Rafa did, and he wouldn't talk more about it because he didn't want to create a fuzz on that. And 2 weeks ago, more or less, Quaresma told a story that at least I didn't know of. He told the media that in the Euro of 2012, in Poland and Ukraine, he was so sick of it, of not playing, of not being called up for the team, that he almost left the tournament in the middle of the tournament. He almost left the squad. He talked to Ronaldo. He said to him that he was going to leave. He's going to go back to return home. Ronaldo convinced him to not do it, to stay with the team. And Quaresma was also a player that was always in the second role in the national team. Maybe this story with the national team could have been different. I remember he wasn't called up to the World Cup in Germany.
Yeah, I don't think he has any World Cup call-ups, right? Because back then, I think back then it was a big scandal almost, because he was playing so well for Porto at the time. I think
in 2006, nobody understood. Nobody. It was one of those scholarly decisions that nobody understood, like not calling.
He didn't take Vitor Bahia in 2004.
Quaresma made an incredible season at Porto in 2006. So much magic. So good for the team. He was definitely one of those players you have to take with you to a World Cup. Mm-hmm. Nobody understood very well what happened.
I mean, he proved that in 2016, I think. Like he
then in
he
2016, Fernando Santos made a little bit of buttons in his head, in Quaresma's head, hit some buttons there, and I think it was the stage where Quaresma felt more happier with the happiest ever in the national team. It was in 2016, because even as he didn't start in the lineup many times, he felt valuable. He felt important. That was the difference. But Rafa was even less than that, even less time of play.
Yeah, he played one game at the Euros in 2016, so I can imagine.
And two in 2020 or 21 due to the pandemic. He only have 25 caps for the national team, no goals. He was, by far, he wasn't as important in the national team as he was in Benfica. He didn't feel comfortable in there, and he made his decision. It was a bit strange at the time, but
Yeah. So he won't be returning
if
then.
he was in Germany, if Roberto Martinez tried to convince him to come back.
Okay.
It was a few months. He announced the retirement a few months before Roberto Martinez came to the national team. Roberto tried to convince him, but his decision was made. If he was in Germany, if he was still playing, maybe, I think so. If his situation was different, I can't tell. But I think it will be a bit difficult to leave Rafa out of the squad.
Yeah, but the season he's had, it would seem weird. But we've seen weirder things, like you said, with Scolari in the past. When I ask people about Rafa and to describe him as a player, like the one thing that always returns is he's very quick. He's very fast, quick, agile, and is a good dribbler. But we've had players in the past like George Kevin Okudo, for example. He's very quick, he's very agile, he's a good dribbler, but there's no chance on earth that he would ever get the numbers that Rafa manages to get consistently at Benfica. So it's such a weird way. I mean, just fast and quick dribble, but he must have other aspects. How would you describe his playing style, his strengths, his weaknesses? Just paint a picture, so to speak.
The weakness, as I've said, is that switch on and off mode he sometimes gets. There is this, like in the classics, in derbies, for example. I've seen it all from Rafa. I've seen Rafa being decisive, and I've seen Rafa like, Rafa, where are you? The game has already started. Wake up. I also remember a time where he had a complicated relationship with the goal. He made everything right, the space, the dribble, the opportunity, the position, everything right. But when it came the time to shoot, he just couldn't. It's very difficult, very difficult stage for him. But then again, it's normal. All the players pass through that. Even great strikers and great goalmen have one of those days that sometimes it's more than a day. A few matches like that, it's normal. Rafa is a team player, as you can see by the assists. He's selfish. He will never. If you see a colleague well positioned, he's gonna put the ball in there. Even if the goal is there, looking at him, he's gonna pass the ball if the colleague is in a better position than him. He's smart. He's like we say in Portugal, and it's not an offensive way. It's a compliment in football. He's a rat. Because sometimes you see where is Rafa, and then Rafa is already celebrating the goal. He's very smart. He reads very well the game.
Does it also translate into creativity? Because obviously he has so many assists over his career, 97 at club level, I believe, 97 assists at club level. So is that something that he has as well? Because he gets so many assists, but when people talk about it, I never hear that word creative. Would you say he's a creative player?
Sorry, I lost it. I don't know what was the last thing you heard from me. I lost the connection.
No worries.
But I was coming to that. Okay. Although he has the capability of dribbling like one or two players, for me, with Rafa, is lots of times it's his capability of seeing a pass that no one else is seeing. So he is a creative player because he knows how to play for the team. He knows how to put his strengths in favor of the team. So we're not going to be the guy that will dribble four guys and score a goal, but a lot of times he's going to make a pass that no one is seeing. He's going to make a beautiful assist, and that's his way of being creative and helping the team and making a difference.
So he kind of sounds like not a very different player than Quaresma, then. Like a functional dribbler rather than showboating.
Oh, very different. Different player. Quaresma is a pure winger. Is his habitat, and you can barely imagine Quaresma playing like in the back of the striker, like Rafa, like Rafa does. Different players. Okay, they are both good dribblers and creative players, but their style is completely different. Their personalities are completely different, as you probably understood by now. Quaresma is a cult player, as that aura, that thing beyond the field that makes people love him, and Rafa is completely the opposite, very low profile. In that way, it's also very different for Quaresma.
So you've already mentioned that he plays behind the striker. He has played behind the striker a lot this past season, but in the past, I think he's also played a lot as both left and right winger. Do you think that for Beşiktaş, for example, Beşiktaş have right now a number 10, Ernest Mucci, who they just bought last January for 10 million euros, which is one of their biggest transfer fees they ever paid. Do you see Rafa as somebody who can easily play on either wing as well still, or is that something that's in the past?
I think that he still might play, still able to play in the wing, but maybe with that reflection or instinct to go from the wing to the center. It's more natural for him, and it's the zone where the area of the field where he is in the most danger. He's way more dangerous behind the striker than in the wing, because then again, if you compare with Quaresma goes until the end of the field and makes a cross. Rafa is not that player. Okay, he can do it. He can swing from the wing and create a space in there, dribble the defenders, confuse them, and any part of the field. But like I said, Rafa reads very well the game. Plays very well between the lines. Is very well to escape from the back of the midfielders and then the back of the defenders. It's really, really quick. If you want to play deep, if you want to explore the back of the defenders, Rafa is your man, definitely. So I can see him playing on the wing, but as a false winger. And I would definitely put Rafa as a second striker, or something similar to that.
He sounds like somebody that enjoys playing combination football, having good players around him with good feet. Sounds like something that suits him the most.
Yes, he's that kind of player. Like I said, it's a team player, and he wants to combine with the colleagues to pass the ball and gonna grab it further. Make a ship pass through the box. He likes to play with players that knows what he's gonna do next. Pass the ball, receive the ball from Rafa, knowing what Rafa is gonna do next, knowing where Rafa wants you to put the ball in the next step of the play. Is that kind of player. He's no selfish. Okay, of course, sometimes he tries to dribble one or two players. Sometimes he tries to make his individual play. That's very normal. It's very natural from Rafa, but he's not selfish, and it's a natural team player. He wants to make those little connections with colleagues that altogether make all the difference.
So when people say he's fast, he's able to play get in behind the defenders and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes maybe people might think, oh, he's more a counter-attacking player, but I don't think that's what he is, right? Is he somebody that can easily? Is he somebody that, how should I put it, is able to unlock a very defensive side?
Well, if you are playing on counter-attack, you have to have Rafa in the team, and it's the context where it's going to be more dangerous than ever. because of his speed, his sense of timing to get into the back of the defenders in the right time, to not get called offside. He's, like I said, he's erect. He knows how to position himself to promote those kind of situations. But if you are playing against a parquet buzz, like Mourinho said, if you are playing against a really low defense, you can also have Rafa with you, because he knows how to create spaces in a busy area, in the area where there's not much of a field to run. Again, for him, it's stronger and it's easier for him if he can run, if he can run away, if he can put his speed on. When that space doesn't exist, Rafa sometimes gets control and neutralized. But it wouldn't be, like us, in the sense of saying, it wouldn't be the first player to take off, to sub off in those situations still.
Okay. So yeah, you've alluded to it as well, the speed. It's something that continues to come back. He has just turned 31 last month. So he's at a point now in his physical deterioration, if you will. Obviously, we all have an expiration date when it comes to being a top athlete. Some of us, like myself, never have been. But, you know, even the best have an expiration date. So he has signed a 3-year contract now with Beşiktaş. Do you think that should his speed decrease a little bit over time, that he has enough in his repertoire to make up for that? And what do you see as his main talents to perhaps compensate for losing his speed a little bit over the next couple of years?
Well, it's an inevitable challenge for him, because he's going to lose his physical abilities. It's normal. He has to use his head. He has to be smart. He has to use more that capability of reading the game. Think about Rafa's capability of still being effective without the speed.
Yeah.
That's going to be a challenge, and he has to use his intelligence and his capability in reading the game, playing between lines, protecting himself a bit with unnecessary runs, creating little spaces in busy areas. That's probably going to be his solution, but I still think he is a bit far away from that time of his career.
Yeah, I mean, bar a knee injury or something, God forbid, of course. Like, usually you don't lose your speed that dramatically. So it's just something I figured was worth asking.
Yeah, of course.
And then, of course, I have one final question for you, Anna, and I want to thank you just again for your time. So one of the biggest legends in recent memory, in modern history for Beşiktaş, of course, is the man we spoke about earlier already. It's Ricardo Quaresma. Back in 2015, I think it was, he came back to Beşiktaş at age 32 from Porto. And he had a massive impact for the foreseeable 3 or so years. He was on the top of his game, and even 4 or 5 years. But like towards the end of his second stint, of course, his physical deterioration started catching up to him. But like those 3 years when he arrived for his second time were just amazing. Do you think that Rafa can have a similar impact to Quaresma in 2015?
Tricky, because like I said, the personality counts too, and Quaresma is one of those players that we always get in the heart of the fans in an easier way than Rafa, just because of their personalities and their way of being. Nothing wrong with that, just again, It's just to Rafa. He's a man on a mission, and his mission is to play football. So in that level of impact, it's difficult because Quaresma is, like I said, a cult player. But in terms of figures, again, I think Rafa will continue with his double-double habit in goals and assists. I think.
Well, that's a lot to look forward to. Well, Anna, again, thank you very much. Do you have anything you want to plug? Can people find you on Twitter? Follow you there or something?
No problem. No need to.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, and good luck for Portugal at the Euros, of course, in Germany.
Thank you. Good luck for Turkey as well.
Bye-bye. And don't you forget to subscribe and like and comment, by the way. All right.
Yeah.
Au revoir.